Hello and welcome to another UniBrass interview. My name's Brett Baker, and it's great to have Naomi Hill on Zoom today. And we're going to talk about her composition and winning this year's composition prize. So, welcome, Naomi.
Hiya, nice to be here.
Good, excellent. Well, so you won the composing competition, which was September 2023 was the deadline. And then when did you find out that you'd actually won this competition?
Um, so I found out in the end of, I think it was advertised in September. And then I think the deadline might have been in December. I might have given you the wrong information there, but
Right.
it was yeah. I saw it advertised in September. Submitted it. I think it was either the end of November, start of December. Um, and then found out I'd been shortlisted at the end of December.
Mhm.
Um, and then a few days later found out that I'd been it's been chosen as the winner.
Fabulous. Great stuff. Well, so tell us a little bit about the piece.
Um so it's Peter Brass Band.
Yes.
Um it's it's quite a substantial piece. It's probably the biggest kind of chunkiest piece I've written. It's a 6 minute piece. It has to be between 3 minutes and 6 minutes. I was the upper end of that. So it's a tone poem for brass band. Um, it's based on a Bible passage. So I've grown up in the Salvation Army Church. So brass banding's been a key kind of thing. Um, and yeah, as often is the case in Salvation Army music, it's based on a Bible passage. So it's called Calling, and that is taken from the Bible passage, which is from 1 Peter 2, verse 9, which says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." So yeah, I've kind of taken those words as the inspiration for the tone poem. So it travels through kind of different characters. It's sort of in a way kind of a darkness into light kind of journey, which will undoubtedly mean different things to different people. But yeah, it sort of intends to connote the various emotions humans travel through as we are called to do things and the doubts and tensions that may appear. Um, yeah, I think
Sounds perfectly Salvation Army that.
that.
Exactly. So no, I'm sure Foden's band who are going to perform it in the gala concert at UniBrass. And so this is going to be the first time you've heard the piece live.
Yeah, so yeah, I have no one else has played it apart from Foden's in rehearsals, I think so far. Um yeah, that's not the usual kind of thing that I do. Often I test it out a few times and then draft other things and kind of take on feedback. But this is a piece that yeah, I started last May actually. Um I didn't write it kind of intentionally for the competition. It's kind of a kind of a substantial piece that I'd written um that sort of developed from May to September. Um sort of yeah, in that time it progressed, I think, and went in a different direction to what I first imagined after feedback from a few people. But yeah, it'll be the first time I've heard it, which would be nice.
Yeah. And so is that your process normally in terms of composition? You sort of take, say, inspiration from a melody from maybe the Salvation Army, a hymn, or a scripture reading. And then what happens next? How do you sort of refine that? How do you build and develop that?
Yeah, often I do a lot of hymn arrangements. I also do some choral writing as well, so I often do it the other way around, where I write new music for old words.
Yeah.
Um, but then yeah, sometimes I use just words that have not got a melody associated with them, like in this piece actually. Um, yeah, I think it just depends. I do a lot of my work is usually based on either a hymn or a song or a Bible passage. But it sort of just depends, what route I choose to take. Yeah.
And in terms of then, are you one of these people that when that piece is finished and it's performed, that's it? Or is it like you're one of these people that will then constantly revise it again and again?
I think it depends. So this piece has been revised a lot of times. So like I said, the original version of this piece was, the gem of the idea has not changed. Like my plan for what I wanted to convey has not changed at all. But yeah, the characters in some of the sections have changed quite a lot. So I worked with Andrew Mackereth, who's a Salvation Army composer. I was fortunate to be on the Salvation Army music editorial mentoring scheme for composers last year and the year before, actually. So I was paired with Andrew Mackereth last year. And this is a piece that we looked at together a little bit. And yeah, he kind of steered me in the right direction with saying, that character might not be what you want to convey there. So yeah, things like that have been hugely helpful in revising kind of the draft. But I think I've reached a point with this piece anyway where I don't think I want to revise it now. I might that might change once I've heard it. But
Yeah, that's right.
I usually, when I've tried pieces out at bands, various bands, I usually go with a draft and then there's about 3 more versions after that. But yeah, this piece hasn't had quite the same, because it's quite a substantial piece. It hasn't been as easy to do that. It's not as easy to just get people to sight read or so yeah, I think it depends what the sort of piece is. I like to get things right, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And so yeah, often I do a lot of edits. But I think this piece in particular, I'm considering it done, I think.
Right, yes. So if you were to advise people that are writing for, say, after this UniBrass, there'll be another competition, and so what would you advise budding composers that might be going in for that competition? What would you advise them to do?
Well, I've got a little bit of a list, because this is quite I think this was quite a good question to ask, because I've always found people's advice on this sort of thing valuable. I think my number one piece of advice would be to just try writing for brass band. I think sometimes people think it's out of their reach, or it's something, I can't do that. I sort of thought that at points as well. I still think that sometimes, but I think the main thing is to just try it, and see if you like it, because we definitely need more, especially young brass writers. So yeah, try it, because you might like it. The other thing is, start small. Start for a reduced brass band. Get it right on a small scale. That's what I've always been told. Sometimes I like to go really big, but then actually going small and down to basics really helps. And on that topic as well, seek advice and also take advice. And the main thing about advice is to remember that it's always coming from a place of encouragement. I've been quite fortunate to have a lot of wise people tell me things. And I think that's dramatically influenced how I write and how I approach things, and how I take on board feedback as well. I think a lot of my compositions wouldn't have reached where they've got to, or even come to pass, if it hadn't been for someone saying, what about you try this, or have you thought about this, or even just having the opportunity for it to be played as well. Another important thing that I really like doing is reading and listening widely, looking at scores, and being intrigued by them as well. I think sometimes we forget that the score tells you everything you need to know about writing for brass band. There's some amazing scores. Speaking from a Salvation Army music point of view, the work of Wilfred Heaton, Eric Ball, and then some of the Andrew Wainwright's work as well in more recent years. That there's so many like intriguing scores. So have a look at scores, and be a bit nerdy about it, and see how people are creating these sounds, because it's really important to work it out, I guess. Another massive thing, as you kind of start to develop writing, is to take pride in how the music looks. A score that looks nice and parts that look nice make people happy.
Very true.
So,
yes.
So take pride in how they look. And if a dynamic's not straight, then make it straight. And it makes a massive impact on how people view your music, how people play it as well. If it's hard to read, it'll be more difficult. That's a really important thing that I think sometimes we forget about. And on that note, try get your music on stands. It's not easy to get bands to play your music. It's also very scary. But it is hard to do sometimes. But often, bands and conductors are actually really encouraging, and actually want to try new music. And so try to find those opportunities, I guess. I've had the privilege of people being willing, kind of not necessarily even all of my own doing, just people being willing enough to try my music. Sometimes I think, how has this even come to pass, sort of thing. But it's been very influential for me to hear music actually come alive. I'm always fascinated how I can write something down that's in my head, and then someone else can interpret that without me saying anything much. If you do get your music performed or rehearsed even, then take on board the comments and suggestions. Sometimes that's scary, sometimes it feels quite damaging. I've had moments of feeling completely out of my depth with that sort of thing, because it feels like a personal threat when your music's on a stand, and
it's your creation, isn't it? So then when somebody starts finding holes in it, so to speak, your first reaction is going to be defensive. But then if you turn that around and think, well, the reason they're saying this is they want it to make this piece better, so if I take this on board, it will make the piece better, even though you can feel down about it. But then that's the same with performance, in that if somebody starts critiquing a performance and then you think, oh, I've worked really hard at this and it's still not quite right, but that's the nature of music, I guess. So no, you're absolutely right. It's good to take a step back and then go, but they're saying this because they want it to be better. Good points. Anything else? I think
in that moment, kind of just relishing the opportunity to have feedback, and have the opportunity for people to kind of get inside your music and unravel everything that you've poured into that. And I think the last thing is write from the heart, write with a message, write with a purpose, and also have fun with it, because without all that, it's music and there's always a message in it, and so focus on that, and everything else should be fairly simple.
That's very sound advice. So I know a lot of people will be listening to that and taking that on board, and I'm sure that as a result of that, the quality of compositions for next year will be even better, because the standard was very high this year. You mentioned Andrew Mackworth. He's a great composer, and he always seems to take inspiration from other pieces of music, and that's very apparent in the pieces that he writes. So I think you're in good hands if you're getting advice from Andrew. And then moving on from that, and from the composition, which I'm sure you're excited about listening to that's coming up in the gala concert. But what's next for you? Do you have any other projects? Have you got any other people that you're writing for, or bands that you're writing for, or projects that you're thinking about?
So also at UniBrass, so I'm a student at Huddersfield at the minute. I did my undergrad there, and I'm currently doing a performance postgrad. Yeah, as part of our program, I've written a piece as part of that. So yeah, on Saturday there'll be two premieres of pieces by me, which I didn't expect. So yeah, that's one kind of 6-day time sort of little project. Yeah, uni band are always very encouraging of my music, and I've had quite a lot of opportunities for them to try out my music. I have many drafts of many things. So that's kind of in the short term. In the long term, I've got some pieces published with a publishing house in Switzerland. So I've got a few pieces on the go there. I'm also in the process of last July I entered, well, it was before July, but I entered the Foden's female brass band composers thing, which I was also privileged to have been shortlisted and then picked as the winner. And so as part of that, my piece is going to be published by Foden's Publishing, so that's still on the back burner. Yeah, I've always got ideas on the go. I'm sort of quite looking forward to having more time over the next few months to do some more compositions. Yeah, and we'll see what happens. But I always enjoy composing, and so the minute I have a spare minute, I always try and find some time for composing. Yeah.
And you said that you're doing a postgrad in performance. So have you ever written a piece for yourself?
I haven't yet, but that is something that I am thinking of doing, either for my May recital or my September recital. I wrote a piece for a flugel player at uni that he performed 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I am delving into kind of instrumental and piano writing a little more. So yeah, that is actually something I am developing a little more. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to hearing the piece at the UniBrass Gala concert, and best of luck with your future endeavours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.